Hello?
Hello, Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
We have Ramona and Dorothy here. We're just waiting for Miranda. Good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock, so we can begin our first meeting of the year 2021. I'd like to welcome our two new governing board members who are with us this evening. Dorothy Yalby and Miranda Bitsui were just elected in November, and they officially became board members January 1st. So tonight, the first item under opening items is swearing in of the newly elected board members. We have Ramona Nelwood, a continuing board member who will administer the oath of office. And then once we have those two members sworn in, we'll have a quorum, and then we can begin the regular meeting. And for those that are not aware in the audience, I know we have people on Facebook, not Facebook, YouTube, We have some people here in the boardroom and we have others on the Zoom call. Board member Tommy McCabe, who was elected, did resign his position, and so we do currently have a vacancy. We right now have a 4-member board. And County Superintendent Jalen Gerlich is working to fill that seat. So for this evening, we will have a 4-member governing board. So Ramona, if you can.
Oh, Okay, State of Arizona, County of Navajo. I state your name. I, your name. Dorothy Yazzie. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will support. I will support the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution. And the Constitution. And laws. And laws. Of the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona. That I will bear true faith. That I will bear true faith. And allegiance. And allegiance to the same. To the same. And defend them. And defend them. Against all enemies. And against all enemies. Foreign. And domestic. And domestic. And that I will faithfully. And that I will faithfully. And impartially. And impartially. Discharge the duties. Discharge the duties. Of trustees for. Trustee for. Pinon Unified School District Number 4. Unified School District. According to the best of my abilities. According to the best of my abilities. So help me God. So help me God.
I know the sound is sometimes a little bit difficult or whatnot. Sound all set up, so I hope everyone can hear that, but we do have our 2 new duly sworn in board members, Miranda Bitsui and Dorothy Yazzie, so congratulations to them. We now have 4 members present. The next item on the agenda, 1.2, is election of a temporary governing board president to call the meeting to order. This is just a ceremonial piece right now to call the meeting to order, to take roll call, and then to preside over the election of the president and vice president of the board for the 2021 year. Normally, the president or vice president from the prior board would oversee this, but both the president and vice president of the prior board are no longer on the board. So we need to just, the board members just need to elect someone temporarily to take over and run the meeting, because as superintendent, I can't do that. So board members, if you would like to make a recommendation for someone to be the temporary president, just call the meeting to order.
Can I just appoint myself? Can I do that?
As an existing board member, if no one objects, you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any objections? Mark, do you object?
No, I have no objection.
Okay, so Ramona, if you could call the meeting to order, and then we'll move on to the next piece.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the regular board meeting to order, January 6, 2021 at 5:06. And, Tanya, Ms. Grass, can you please do the roll?
Yes. Mark Little,
I'm present.
Ramona Elwood,
Here.
Dorothy Ariazi,
Here.
Miranda Bitsui.
Present.
Madam Board President, there is a quorum. You may proceed with the meeting.
Okay, next on our agenda is a board organization, election of governing board president and vice president. I'll go ahead and open the floor for nomination of the board president. I want to go ahead and motion, to nominate, Dorothy Yazzie as for the board president.
I'll go ahead and motion that.
There's a second by Miranda. Mark, are you able to hear?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Do we have any other nominations? If not, we'll go ahead and, vote, for the governing board president, position. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm supposed to close it first, huh? Okay. Do I have a nomination to, cease, do I have a nomination to cease, the nomination for, governing board president?
Do you have a nomination or do you have a motion?
Do you have a motion to close the nominations for board president?
Second?
I can hear, who?
Oh,
I second.
there's a motion.
Did you motion?
I thought he did.
No.
No.
Martin,
Okay, I'll go ahead and motion it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Miranda and second by Dorothy to close the nomination. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, no abstention. So we have Dorothy Ariazi, as our governing board president. We'll go ahead and go on to opening the nomination for board vice president. Do I hear a nomination?
I nominate Ramona Elwood for the board vice president.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have any other nominations?
Madam Pro Tem, if there's no other motions, or if there's no other nominations, I'd like to make a motion to close nominations.
Okay, Mark, motion to close the nomination. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the nomination for board vice president. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, no abstention. So we have, Ramona Elwood has been nominated as board vice president.
And then just before both of you leave today, there's a president and a vice president certificate to be signed, and then we send those down to county. So before you leave, after the meeting's adjourned, we'll get those signatures so we can send those down to the Navajo County office.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and give the floor to Dorothy now.
Okay, board members, thank you. And go ahead and put it in. Oh, I'll go to the Thank you, board members. I'll go ahead and go to the next item. So superintendent's report.
Actually, we still have to do 1.6 adoption of the agenda.
Adoption of agenda.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I gotta go back. I'm sorry. All right. Okay, go back. Adoption of the agenda, 1.6, adoption of the agenda.
Madam President, members of the board, the agenda for this evening, and I do apologize, at the top of the agenda, we put in a notice that if you need assistance or an alternate way to participate, to please call 2198, that's Tanya's number, but the actual meeting ID is not there, so we will be sure that that is on there for the next meeting. For those that might need to call in on the Zoom instead. So for the agenda, we have the superintendent's report, we have acknowledgements and recognition, and those are two pieces that are always on our regular board meeting. We have a consent agenda. Everything on the consent agenda is just handled in one motion with no discussion. If there is something on the consent agenda that a board member would like to discuss, then they can motion to have that taken out of the consent agenda, and it would just be done as a new business item later on. Then under reports, reports are not for action or for voting, they're just informational reports. Just an update on the current status of our reopening. It's really a review of what was done in December. Basically the same presentation, but we have two board members, so I want to be sure they're brought up to speed where we are currently. And then under new business, we have an extension, a possible extension, if the board chooses to do that, of the FCCRA special leave that was granted for those that have COVID-related issues. The mandate expired on December 31st, but it can be extended to March 31st if the board chooses to do that. An amendment to the Pinion Middle School tutoring plan, and then 2 MOUs from Pinion High School. Then there's executive session, and in that section, what the board would do is decide under personnel, which is part 8, is there anything that you want to go into executive session, basically behind closed doors to discuss? And if you do, it would be motioned there. If you don't, then we would just go into personnel. And under personnel this evening, we have a new hire and a resignation. Item 9, the last item, is always adjournment. So with that, I would ask the board, or recommend to the board that they adopt the agenda as presented.
Okay, is there any motion on adoption of the agenda?
Madam President?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, this is Board Member Little. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as read.
I'll second.
Yes, okay. Mark Little made the motion to adopt the agenda and seconded by Ramona Norwood. Okay, let's vote on the motion. We have a motion on the for voting. Say aye. All in favor?
Board Member Little, I vote. Board Member Little, I vote yes.
4 in favor and 0 opposing and 0 abstaining. Okay, move on to the next item. Superintendent's report.
Madam President, members of the board, For those here in the boardroom, it's on the big screen, and it also is being screen shared on the Zoom so people can see. Just a reminder, the superintendent's report is for information only. The governing board will not propose, discuss, or take any action on anything in the board report. If you have questions, or if you would like to request more information on something, we can put that on the next board meeting for discussion. The first thing I always include is our current enrollment. The first several where it says 13, 14, 14, 15, this is end of years, just to give you a comparison of our enrollment. And then starting from August 3rd forward is our enrollment for this school year. And as you can see, our enrollment is slowly dropping off. That is happening around the state and around the country with, unfortunately, with distance learning, students and probably parents as well are becoming a little bit disillusioned and disengaged, and they, because the 10-day absence rule with the state is still in effect, if students don't make contact with us for 10 consecutive days, they're automatically dropped. So we do go through and try to make contact with those families to be sure, where are they, try to get them back in school. But at this time, because of the shelter-in-place order, we're not doing home visits. So we're really limited to phone calls, emails, letters home. So enrollment has dropped off slightly as we've gone through. Now, this number was actually right before the first day of this semester. I don't have the numbers for right now, so they may have gone up a little bit. I heard we did have a few new kids enrolled. But we are trying to find those students that have dropped off our rolls just to be sure they're enrolled somewhere and that they're not, I guess, basically home and not attending school. Then we have a human resources update. This is historic, prepared the number or the current positions that are available. So at the district level, we have an activities director position that is vacant. It's currently being advertised. And then we're always looking for regular certified and emergency certified substitute teachers. That's an ongoing thing. We're always recruiting for that. At the elementary school, we have 2 exceptional student services, which is special education resource teachers. And we do have 2 applicants for those positions. So they're in the process right now of interviewing background checks. So hopefully by the February meeting, we will have 2 good candidates to bring to you to fill those positions. The middle school has an art teacher that has been vacant this year. We currently have no applicants for that, unfortunately. The middle school is also missing an instructional coach. And the instructional coach works with teachers, teacher training and mentoring. We do now just have 1 candidate available for that, so we're going through the process. And then a counselor, Mr. Tassini, who's been at the middle school for many years, retired effective at the end of December. And we do have someone on the agenda later on in the personnel for your consideration to fill the counselor position. And then at the high school, we have 3 teacher positions, all in our CTE, Career Technical Education Program. We have the auto, the agriculture, and the welding positions currently open. In 2 of these, we have substitutes, and I believe in the 3rd, we just temporarily closed that program until we find someone. And we have no applicants for those 3 positions either. If you or if anyone listening is aware of anybody in those areas, please submit an application and we would be happy to work with you. In the classified departments under maintenance, we are still looking for some substitute custodians to fill in when regular custodians are absent. And we do still need a maintenance worker who's a waste management technician. The school district has taken on its own trash collection, trash management. We bought a big trash truck. We have a recycling program. This actually requires a special CDL license, so it's a little bit more difficult to fill, but we do have 1 applicant for that position. In special education, ESS, exceptional student services, we have one health aide. We do have an applicant for that position. And then in the transportation department, we're also looking for substitute bus drivers. We have 4 positions available, and we currently have 2 applicants for that. So it's encouraging. We have applicants for so many of these positions to hopefully bring to the February board meeting to be filling those. And then just an update too for the board under the personnel side. In December, we hired a new elementary school principal who is on board, and a new transportation director who is on board, and a new security director who is processing in, and will soon be on board. So we're doing well filling the district level vacancies. And then just the new hot topic right now is COVID-19 vaccinations. So I really want to give some serious recognition and thank you to Pinion Clinic at IHS for working with us. I was on a superintendent's, Navajo County superintendent's meeting earlier, and down south, the districts were just, none of their teachers have been vaccinated yet. They're having a very difficult time even getting scheduled. And we've already had many of our employees vaccinated with the first round. We have, we sent out a survey, a Google Sheet survey to all of our staff. Basically, are you going to do the vaccine or not? Because it's currently not required. We had 176 agree, and those 176 are being scheduled through Mrs. Kasurik and Ms. Francis and HR, and they're working directly with IHS Pinion Clinic. We did have 4 that declined for different reasons. If you're familiar with the vaccine, if you're currently pregnant or nursing, you can't get the vaccine. If you have certain allergies or other health conditions, they don't recommend it. So we've had a few people who have had to decline the vaccine. But that process is going on. I've had my first last Wednesday, so I'm a week into it. And when you get your first one, well, then they schedule your second one. So we already have the date for the second vaccine. Board members, if you have not been vaccinated and want to be, we can include you on the list as a district employee. So that kind of gets you in, because we're education workers are considered Group 1B in the state, and the state has opened up Group 1B for vaccinations. So just let me know if you're wanting to do that. Then our facilities maintenance department, we have housing renovations that are underway. So if you're any board members, if you're in the neighborhood sometime and want to take a quick trip through housing, we can show you the ones that have been renovated. You can definitely tell the difference looking at them from the outside, which ones are renovated, which ones are not. They're making very good progress. They're actually been speeding up lately because with maintenance not having other things that they need to work on the school campus side, with no students, they're able to focus more on the housing renovations. And then, as I mentioned before, we have our trash collection going, and we are working on, it had been requested during the last board term, but just an update on that, the costs and kind of where are we in that whole trash collection, and we are working on that report to bring to you. In our transportation department, we have 14 of our school buses have Wi-Fi installed. They are through NCUAW choice, and then they also have AT&T service. So they go out and are parked in different places around the school district for drive-up service. So anybody, if they don't have internet at home, they can drive up around the bus, log in on their Chromebook or whatever device they have, and then they can access the internet. I know that's a little more difficult now that the weather's gotten cold. When it was warmer out, we had more people. I mean, they'd even put up like little shade tents and they'd sit out there and do their work and all kinds of things. Now that the weather's colder, that isn't quite as popular. We also have a guest Wi-Fi network here on campus, so people can drive in and park in the parking lot and attach to our guest Wi-Fi and access the internet if they have schoolwork to do. And actually, the guest Wi-Fi on campus is open to anybody, so if somebody needs to come in and use it, they can do that. And then also our buses do deliveries on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're part of the summer feeding program. Because we don't have students on campus, we were allowed to do the summer feeding program. So we can actually provide meals to any child age 18 or under. They don't even have to be enrolled with Pinion, they can be with anyone. We are able to do 7 days worth of breakfast and 7 days worth of lunch, but we do it in 2 deliveries. So the buses go out twice a week and hand all those things out. We also have a drive-through here on campus that people can come and pick things up that way. And then just some general updates. I've submitted a distance learning plan, and I'll talk a little more about that later. We have an on-site services waiver through January 8th, which is Friday. This is based on Navajo Nation and their shelter-in-place order. So if Navajo Nation extends their shelter-in-place order, then we apply to ADE and have our waiver extended. But it's tied to what Navajo Nation does. I'm just showing you there the link to the YouTube channel. This is where our meeting right now is live, so people can be watching it. It's also archived there, so anybody can go back and watch the meetings, any prior meetings, anytime. Then just another update, NAFIS, which is the National Association of Federally Impacted Schools. The 2021 Spring Conference and our Hill visits where we go and lobby and talk to our Congress people, that has been moved again to an online. So it's not a go to Washington, D.C. It's will all be done through Zoom. The dates are March 15th, 16th, and 17th. So if board members are available and interested, we can register you, and then you can participate in that virtually. That's also how we did the fall conference, was virtual. Just a side note, I don't know if anybody's been watching the news today, but it's been quite a day on Capitol Hill. So it's probably best that we're not going on there. And then this is the conference theme, United in a Changing World. The NAFIS family is putting that together. There is a cost. It's a very small cost, but there is a cost to the conference. So if you're interested, we'll register you and get the costs and everything taken care of. Then in board docs, there are some attachments that the board members, well, these are actually public, anybody can see these. There are some attachments there as well that you can take a look at. And if board members would like, we can print these and give you hard copies if you'd rather have them back. So that's just the superintendent's report is basically just a current event summary of what's going on. So that's the report. If this isn't an action item that requires a vote, but if there's any questions or anything.
Board members, any questions?
Chris, or excuse me, Madam Chair, I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
Chris, you mentioned that the security supervisor is not working yet. Is there a reason why?
He's given his notice with Navajo PD, so he's processing out of there and processing into here. So I believe the start date is next week.
I'm sorry, your mic is it's echoing on my end.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try it this way. Hopefully this is better.
Oh, that sounds better.
Okay. Oh, security. The security supervisor, he has given his notice with Navajo PD, so he's processing out of there at the same time while he's processing in here. So I believe he's going to be starting probably next week.
Okay. You had mentioned, oh, I know, the elementary. I know last year, or at the beginning of this year, I wanted an update and the presentation was provided. And I'm wondering if Dr. Sales has provided any follow-up on the immersion program. I know the immersion program at one point was pretty good, and then we brought in the principal, and for some reason the principal had their own agenda to that program, and I wanted the program to be reestablished. So I'm wondering if Dr. Sales has followed up on that and what the progress is on that program.
Not yet, but I will follow up with her on that, and we can have an update for you at the February board meeting. With Christmas break, she's only been on about 2 weeks, so she's still kind of getting acclimated to the school, but I will talk to her about that this week, and we'll have an update for you in February.
Okay. Did you guys do any type of onboard training for Dr. Sales? Did you have a meeting with her, or is anyone mentoring her through the district?
Yeah, we had, well, HR did some of the basic onboarding. I've had a couple brief sessions with her, and Jenna Rita, who's the curriculum director, Jenna Rita Yazzie, and who was the acting principal, was with her for those first couple weeks where they were making that transition. So we'll be continuing that as we move through this next semester.
Okay. When are you going to be presenting your renewals and non-renewals? I understand, yes, that they're not to be, I mean, we don't have to, the board doesn't have to act on it until April 13th or 16th. I can't remember exactly. But what is your projection or your anticipation to present to the board your renewals and non-renewals?
The April board meeting, probably. The date is April 15th. That's in state law. So the April or I'd have to look at what the April meeting date is. It's the 3rd or 4th or something like that.
Would it be feasible to maybe do it for the March meeting? That way, if someone's going to be non-renewed, we'd give them time to start looking for another job.
Well, we can do it in March. There's nothing in law that says we can't. The only date is.
I understand that. I understand that. My question to you was, would it be feasible if we could do it earlier?
Yes, we could do it at the March meeting.
Okay. Prior to the March meeting, I'd like to request that the supervisor salary schedule be remodified. I think where we have them at right now as an entry level is it's not appropriate. So I'd like to request that that be revisited and then presented to the board for board review and possible approval.
Okay, we can do that at the March meeting also.
No, I'd like to have that done for the February meeting. That way, when you present for the March meeting, your renewals and non-renewals, that new salary schedule will reflect their salaries.
Okay, we can have that on the February meeting.
Okay. I have no other questions. Oh, I have one last question. I'm sorry. I received 2 phone calls, and I did let them know, the employees know, that they needed to go through their supervisor to address their question, but they feared, I don't know why, possible retaliation. And no employee should fear any type of retaliation for addressing any type of concern or question. But I told them I'll go ahead and ask the question at the board meeting, but next time you have to go through your chain of command. And their question was, last year, and I don't remember, but last year I guess we gave the employees a $1,200 stipend around Christmas time or around this time. Can you, do you recall that, and can you explain what that was for?
Last year, so this was the 2019-2020 school year, we didn't give, there were not salary increases. There was the retention stipend, and the retention stipend was split to be paid out at 2 different times of the year. This year, for 2020-2021, there wasn't a retention stipend because everybody got salary increases in steps. So that was the difference between the two.
Oh, okay. Well, from your office, can you send out a notice to the employees explaining that? Because I think they don't know the reason for that $1,200. I guess they were kind of anticipating to get the same thing again this year. So if you don't mind, I'd like to request that you, from your office, send out a letter to all the staff district-wide explaining why they got the $1,200 last year and why they're not getting it this year.
I can do that.
Okay. All right. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members? I don't have any questions. Well, I had one, but if there's no further questions on what was presented by the superintendent, then go on to the next item. 3, acknowledgement recognition. 3.1, Young Elementary.
Madam President, members of the board, the way the elementary used to do this is they would pick 1 staff, 1 student, and 1 parent or guardian of the month for the entire school. And then they decided, instead of doing that, they would have the teachers nominate 1 student per class. So that's why the list is so long that you have in your packet. So for the students, it's by class. For the parent and for staff, it is still 1 for the school. So this was submitted by Pinyon Elementary School. The parent of the month is Cynthia Totticini. So congratulations. There wasn't a write-up attached as to why, but congratulations to Cynthia. Our staff of the month is Muriel Ann Bachicha, who's one of our new teachers this year. She joined us, and she is in, she's one of our exceptional student services resource teachers. She was recognized as staff of the month. And then our PES students of the month for December, we currently have 2 pre-kindergarten classes that submitted. So we have Jasmine Tom and Varen Benali. And then we have 3 kindergarten classrooms, and we have Erica Yazzie, Cheyenne Ticini, and Jordan Taylor. We have 3 first grade classrooms. So we have Koa Red Mustache, Jay Delyn Segay, and Joshua James. And then we have 4 second grade classrooms. So we have Lexine Cruz, Andrea Woody, Chanel Sosi, and Ava Hanley. In third grade, we have 4 third grade classrooms. We have Peyton Natoni, Ariel Morris, Leah Charlie, and Liam Kiani Begay. We have 4 fourth grade classrooms, and we have Irvin Hosteen, Aurora So, Jeremy Kaidito, Megan Shorty, and then we have 5 fifth grade classrooms. So we have Taylor Ramakitawa, Cody Pekin, Colin Baya, and Colin Sosi. And then we have our exploratories, which includes the Navajo language and culture classes, PE, computers, basically anybody that isn't a regular classroom is listed here. So we have Mara Johns, Melanie Bahi, Jeremiah Washington, and Tyrese Spencer, Quentin Cisco, Jamie Yazzie, and Fabiano McLaughlin. So I'd like to give my congratulations to all the students on the list. I know we are currently working to rework our school district website. It will have the same address, but we're kind of redesigning the page. And one of the things that we want to add is recognition for these students. So that will be coming. We want to be sure we have permission from the parents, obviously, but then we can post pictures and names and do the recognition on our website and through social media.
Okay, let's go on. The next item, please now, the Kingdom Television Superintendent.
So for middle school, what they do is they recognize 1 student and 1 parent from each grade level, and then a staff of the month. So for our students of the month, for 6th grade, we have Antoine Clement. For 7th grade, we have Bobby Bly. And for 8th grade, we have Kevin Nelwood. And then our parents for 6th grade is Caroline Laughing. 7th grade is Adrienne Gray Eagle, who actually is also a staff member who works at Pinion High School. And then 8th grade parent is Raylyn Begay. And our staff of the month is Angela Sherman, who is our student records specialist. She does our all of our attendance and scheduling and everything at the middle school. So would like to recognize those individuals and give my congratulations.
Thank you. Go on to item 8.3, acknowledge that Pinion High School student parent is.
So Pinion High School submits 1 student, 1 parent, and 1 staff for the month, and this is going forward for the month of January. So student of the month for January is Terrence White, who's a 10th grader. And we do have a little bit of a narrative here that's on the screen. Not only is he academically successful, we've gotten to know him as an individual. He's a well-rounded individual who I can depend on to know what is going on in the world. He always lets me know when he can't attend a Zoom meeting, or if he can, he'll attend while on the road. When asked to respond in writing prompt, he doesn't do the usual one-sentence response. He gives a thorough, thoughtful response. He keeps an eye on his grades. If he has questions, he will ask. Not only does he keep an eye on his grades, but his GPA also. He wants the best for himself, good grades, and to be a good person. So congratulations to Terrence White, 10th grade student. Our parent of the month for January is Tiffany Riggs. This parent has been coming in to check on her child's grades, brings back his work and meetings with his teachers and the principal regarding child's progress and work almost every week. So that is wonderful. We applaud that parent. And our staff for the month of January is Kamala Begay. She's our Pinyon High School academic interventionist. That's a classified position, an academic interventionist. We have that position at all 3 schools, and they provide student support. The term is academic interventionist. It's similar to teacher assistant or someone who provides assistance to students to get their work completed. This staff's been very helpful with all the departments by setting up the work packets for distribution to students and to go out on the buses. She's very organized with the work packets, very helpful, not only to the math department, but also to the other departments as well. So congratulations to our student parent and staff of the month from Pinyon High School.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on to item 3.4. Now, we want to
So our CTE director, Mrs. McLaughlin, also recognizes a student through our CTE program. So under the background, Pinyon High School CTE Student of the Month is Tiana Ticini. She was nominated by her teacher, Mrs. Tracy Jones, who's our business management teacher. She's hardworking, kind, and has a positive attitude, has a strong work ethic, and takes the initiative to help others, turns in her work on time with quality and effort, attentive in class, contributes to class discussions, and is always present in the Zoom meetings. FBLA is the student organization that goes along with the business program, and she's the FBLA historian, and she goes above and beyond to get the job done. Through the many challenges since this pandemic, she has shined and managed to earn straight A's. So congratulations to her and our CTE program.
thank you, Superintendent. On behalf of the board, I'd like to provide our recognition and acknowledgement to all staff and parents that have achieved this recognition. Thank you very much. Now let's go on to the next consent agenda. 4.1, approval of the board minutes from December 20. Should I just go ahead and read all of them or just?
Yeah, you can just read them.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
one motion to approve.
Okay. 4.2, approval of voucher signing between members, and 4.3, approval of the consolidated board report from July 1st, 2020 to January 4th, 2021. And 4.4, approval of consent agenda. Superintendent?
Madam President, members of the board, there's just a motion and a second for these items, unless, if there is anything that needs to be discussed, it would need to be removed from the consent agenda and placed under new business. But otherwise, it would just be a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Madam President,
Go ahead, member. Board member.
Madam President, this is Board Member Little. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda to contain 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. That's my motion.
Board member, Mr. Little, makes a motion to approve 4.1,
I'll second.
4.2, 4.3, and 4, and second by Board Member Ms. Ramona Norwood. All in favor, say aye.
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 I vote yes.
Aye. So there's 4 in favor, 0 abstaining, 0 opposing. I said opposite way.
You're doing good.
Okay, motion carried. We included 4.4, right?
Oh, that's the one we did.
Okay.
Just the action. So we go to the reports.
All right, let's go on to item 5, reports. 5.1, Superintendent.
Madam President, members of the board, this is just an update. It's not an action item. It's really just a review of what was presented in December, but with new board members and starting a new year, I thought it was important that everybody get brought up to speed on where we are. So this is all based on ADE guidance. So again, just to bring you up to speed, on Monday, June 1st, 2020, the Arizona Department of Education issued guidance on how we could do this school year and what options were available due to the pandemic. Governor Ducey, through his executive order, gave authority to the school boards to decide what model that they would use for this school year. So there were 4 options the school district could do. One was all students throughout the year attending school in person. So that would be kind of business as usual, all students in class. The second option or scenario was that some students would be in school, some would be using distance learning, and they call that the hybrid model. So you kind of have a mixture of what's happening. Number 3 was all students are distance learning from the start of the school year. And then option 4 was kind of a combination of the first 3, where you'd be in person for a while and then you'd be out and then you'd be back in and then maybe you'd be out. What the governing board did back at the beginning of this school year, so back in July, they voted for option 3 for first quarter, which was all students distance learning. And then as we got close to fall break, I brought it back before the board again to make a decision for second quarter, and the decision was to remain all students distance learning. And then once we got to December and we were looking towards this new third quarter, I brought it to the board again, and they extended that. So currently, Pinyon Unified is all students are distance learning. So we have no students coming into campus for instructional services right now. That is up, the board put that up through spring break, so March 5th, I believe it is. And then based on the situation at the time, I'll bring to you another recommendation about fourth quarter. If we can switch to one of the other scenarios, if we need to just remain distance learning. I will say, later in the presentation, but I will say that Navajo Nation, the council, the president's office, and DOTI, Department of Diné Education, have all passed resolutions that all schools on Navajo Nation should remain in distance learning. So the board is in compliance with what Navajo Nation wants us to be doing. I know that is a little bit of an issue when you get to the border town districts, because some of the students are on, some of the students are off. For us, we're completely on Navajo Nation, so we are following the guidance from Navajo Nation. And those options, the flexibility that the governor has put in is good through the end of the school year. So we have all the way through to use these options. Now, the state legislature will be back in session in a couple weeks, I believe. The new legislature convenes, so they may take action at the state level to do something. But currently, we're operating under the governor's executive orders. That requires a plan to be submitted after the board each time has approved distance learning. Then I've worked with our administrative team, our principals, to complete the distance learning plan that talks about how we do attendance, how we deliver instruction, how we do all those pieces. That gets submitted to Department of Education. And then we get approval from them to do distance learning. The other thing that Pinyon Unified has done, and we haven't actually started it yet because we don't really have a need right now, is we also applied and we were approved for a full-time online school, Pinyon Eagles Online Academy. So that is now and forever can be an online option for students. We haven't started that yet because we're distance learning anyway right now, but as soon as we switch models to bring students back, we have a lot of families who have said they won't send their students back. They want to stay distance learning, they want to stay remote while the pandemic is still going. So oh, that's not sure what happened. We had a meeting today with Navajo Nation. Superintendents have a meeting with Navajo. Oh, not today. This was on Tuesday. Every Tuesday we have a meeting with Dodie, and the president, Navajo Nation president, was on there. He's often on the call. He had indicated that it is very possible that the shelter-in-place order that expires this weekend will be extended beyond, but they're making it a data-driven decision, and they haven't looked at all the data yet. Numbers on Navajo Nation are starting to come down, but if you watch the news, Arizona is the #1 hotspot in the world right now in terms of new infections, and so that is just something to consider. So Governor Ducey's also issued an executive order that all Arizona residents will be able to get the vaccine for free. I guess I talked about this a little bit before. Teachers are in group 1B, and we're already in 1B. If you haven't had the vaccine yet at the Pinyon Clinic, it takes about 30 minutes. You drive up, they take your information, you sign the waiver, they inject you through the car window, it's a drive-through, and then they have you pull over and wait for 15 minutes just to be sure you don't have a reaction, and then if you have no reaction, then you drive out. So the whole process for me took about 30 minutes, from the time I drove on to the time I drove out. And we are scheduled.
Chris?
Yes?
Chris, sorry to interrupt you really quick. Are they still doing that as of now? I mean, not like right now, but as of today, are they still doing that?
Yes, we have, our HR department is scheduling appointments. They want it to be by appointments for our staff. I don't know if they're just doing general drive-through for everybody else, but they want our staff scheduled. So all of our staff are getting a specifically scheduled time where they drive over there and do that.
Oh, okay. Because Chinle IHS, they're not doing it for the educators anymore. They said they're just doing the shots for elderly and the patients that are going through dialysis. So it's good to know that Pinyon's giving it to the educators.
As far as I know, unless something's changed, we've still been sending people over there today. So I'll follow up on that and double check. But yeah, Pinyon Clinic has still been scheduling our educators.
Okay. All right then. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. That's good information to have. I didn't know Chinle had stopped doing that. These are just the data dashboards. I pulled these off today from the state of Arizona. This is all counties. So this is the entire state is in the red everywhere. So the recommendation is that all schools in the state of Arizona should be distance or virtual learning, but it is still a governing board decision. And if you watch the news at all, some governing boards are not following the recommendation and they are bringing their students back on campus. And already. So that is, this is specifically Navajo County, which again, in the red on everything, virtual distance learning only. Just to give you kind of an update too, we did a survey in December. We had about 100, well, total it was 109, I think, that responded. We had responses from all 3 schools, basically just wanting to know, what did the parents think? I mean, we know what the test results, I mean, the data is, but we just want to know what, parents, what do you think about this? And as you can see, it was overwhelming online learning. Everybody that we've talked to, even outside of this survey, if we've just talked to people and asked them what they want, it's online learning. Parents are very concerned about sending their children back to campus. Then we asked about internet access at home, and this is what is really causing some of our students' issues is the internet access at home. As you can see, we have about 5% who said they don't have internet at home, about 3% who said they have very limited, 30% have internet of some kind, but it's kind of slow, or they have data limits as to what they can do. And then we have about 50% who feel that it's reliable enough, and only about 13% who said the service is excellent and that they're able to do it. Just to update the board too, we did talk to Choice Wireless, the NTUAW, about the district purchasing the little hotspot modems that we could send home. So we're in the process of doing that for like some of our special education students and some of the others so they can get online. But the problem we had there too is that Choice Wireless, when we gave the locations of where people live, Choice Wireless only was able to provide service to about 50%. The others live in areas that just don't have service at this time. So that is one of our major problems as far as the distance learning, is just having internet access. We asked what kinds of devices they have. We have enough Chromebooks for every student to check out one if they want. But they can also use their own computers if they have them. We had that big Chromebook sale at the beginning of the school year, and we had a lot of people buy them. Some are using tablets or smartphones also. We asked how many, if we brought students back on campus, would you enroll your child? We did have a few that said yes. We had about 10%, but 60% was no, and we had the rest were kind of undecided. And when we asked about the undecided, they just wanted to know more about the conditions at the time. And then the distance learning, would you enroll your child? We only had about, again, just under 5% who said no, and those may be some of the students who have withdrawn or dropped out right now, but 80% said yes, they would enroll their child. And also, just as an update to the board, for the students who have internet access, we use Google Classroom, we use the Google Meets, we use Zoom like we're doing here for live interaction. We have many, many online programs that we use that students have access to. For those students that don't have internet access at home, then we do instructional packets, we send textbooks, we send other materials, and it's followed up through phone calls. So we're trying to reach the students as best we can, however we can. The best model is online, just because it's interactive and they can actually kind of be in with their class. But for those who don't have internet access, then we're doing packets, sending things home for the students to work on. I'd already mentioned this too, but we are doing food service operations. We're providing breakfast and lunch for 7 days worth of meals to all children under 18 and under, even if they're not enrolled in Pinion School District. We have canceled the 2020-2021 athletic season. For first semester of this year, there wasn't anything. What they were thinking of doing for second semester is trying to run all 3 seasons during second semester, but because of the current situation and the recommendations, the previous governing board voted to basically cancel the athletic season for the year. Ganado Unified did as well, and some of the other districts around have also canceled their athletic seasons. I know in other parts of the state, they are still trying to do athletics, and they're having all kinds of problems with positive tests and students infecting each other and stuff. So I think we made the right choice in canceling athletics. And then just an update on the waiver that I mentioned before. Part of Governor Ducey's executive order is that if schools remained closed and they were doing distance learning only, then the school district was supposed to provide a place on campus where students could come and work to get internet access, possibly tutoring and other supports, special education services. Since the very beginning of this, we've had waivers in place for that because Navajo Nation has had the curfew, shelter in place, stay-at-home orders, basically all the way back to last summer. We have applied and been granted waivers. Our current waiver goes through January 11th. Well, it actually goes to the end of this week. So on Monday, January 11th, we would begin to provide on-site services unless Navajo Nation extends the shelter-in-place order. And if they do, then I'll quick put in a waiver request again to extend that on-site services and keep our campuses closed. And again, just to kind of give you an idea of what on-site services actually are, on-site services are not the same thing as being in a classroom. On-site services don't happen in a teacher's classroom. On-site services are more like study hall, kind of an idea where students come. We're setting up the elementary, the middle school, the high school gymnasiums with desks spaced 6 feet apart. We're building dividers, the clear plastic dividers between so we can keep students separated. And students would come, they would have access, they would either bring their Chromebook if they have one checked out, or we would have one there for them. And we're really targeting the special education population, those students on IEPs, our English language learners, students with no internet access, students in need of tutoring. And then under McKinney-Vento and Title I, if there's specific supports, those are the targeted populations that we would be bringing in. There is a process that we go through to identify. We've actually gone through this process a couple times, and then the waiver's extended, so we don't end up actually bringing kids on campus, but we have been interacting with parents. Again, most of the parents that we talk to don't want their children coming for on-site services. They just want to keep their kids at home. But we have had some who have said that because of internet access or some other things that they would like on-site services. So we do work with those parents. It isn't a drop-off program just because of numbers. We coordinate with the parents ahead of time, so they're scheduled in, so we know how many are coming, and we can have them, have enough space and have everything set up correctly. They are also provided, or would be provided, breakfast and lunch for the on-site services. The schedules vary based on the school, and it's sort of tied to their regular day schedule or bell schedule. The limitations, again, it's not in classroom instruction. It's more like the study hall where they're getting support to do their work that they would otherwise be doing at home. We're not providing transportation because the buses are being used in other ways. So this, the parents or guardians who opt into this when we start offering it would be transporting their students here for those services. And then part of that also is a daily home health screening where the parents actually check the students before they even come to school to be sure that the students are not sick. We have done 2 ACT testing sessions at Pinyon High School, running it similar to this. And actually, as the kids drove up to the high school, we had someone out there with a thermometer, the digital infrared thermometers, taking students' temperatures before they even got out of the car. And if they passed the temperature check and the screening questions, they were allowed into the building for testing. So we do have a model in place and it works. Should we start operating with on-site services, we do have our plans in place to do that. Obviously, we want our staff to stay home when appropriate. We want, I mean, we currently don't have students on campus, but we would want them to stay home if they're showing any signs of sickness. And then just in closing, the PUSD governing board, the prior board, approved that scenario 3, all students distance learning through Friday, March 5th. So that's all of 3rd quarter. The cancellation of the athletic season, and then I was given direction by the board to continue to apply for the on-site service waivers as they become available. So I'm waiting to hear very likely tomorrow or Friday if Navajo Nation is going to extend their shelter order. And if they do, then I will reapply for the on-site services waiver. So that's just kind of the update of where we are. I wanted to bring our 2 new board members up to speed and just a review for the audience and the community of kind of where we are currently. This isn't an action item, but if there's any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any questions from board members?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, there's no- oh,
Chris?
Go ahead.
Yes?
Chris, the last month's meeting, I had asked a question to you in regards to the requirement for the vaccination for our staff. Were you able to follow up on that and get some information if it's a requirement? Does the employer or can the employer require employees to get their vaccination shots? And then also the same question about students.
Students right now, there is no vaccination available for students because the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines that are available are not recommended for anyone under 18, which is going to be a problem in reopening schools. So it will really be adults, and what the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity, what they have come out and said is yes, employers could require employees to receive the vaccination, but there are some exemptions similar to what we have in state law for student vaccinations. So the employee could request a religious or moral exemption if their religion prevents them from getting vaccinated, or they have moral objections, or if they have a health condition. So ASBA, Arizona School Boards Association, is looking into that. It would require board action. It would require a change to our board policy to put that in as a requirement. So I guess the answer is yes, the district could do that, and we're waiting on language to see what that would look like.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, board members, if there's no other question, we'll go on to the next agenda item, to new business. 6.1, Superintendent.
Madam President, members of the board, 6.1 is discussion of possible action. Hopefully that's better. Discussion of possible action to extend the deadline for employees to utilize remaining leave balances under the Families First Coronavirus Recovery Act through March 31st of 2021. So what this is, when Congress in December passed the new recovery relief bill that they passed, they did not mandate that employers extend the FCCRA leave. And what FCCRA leave is, there's two different kinds. The one FCCRA leave is 80 hours, which is basically 10 days of emergency leave. So if I became exposed, if I went and got tested and was waiting for results, or if I tested positive, then I would have 10 days, we just call it COVID leave. We would have 10 days of COVID leave that we could use. That requires medical documentation. We get that through Pinion Clinic and IHS. The other type of FCCRA is the enhanced FMLA, family medical leave. So those that had pre-existing conditions or that might put them at greater risk could request up to 12 weeks of FCCRA leave. There's a child care provision because schools are closed, because Navajo Nation Daycare and Head Start are closed. If one of our staff members had no place for their child to go during the day, they could request for 12 weeks of FCCRA leave. That FCCRA leave is at 2/3 their regular pay. It's the 80 hours, the emergency sick leave is regular pay. It's just like getting 10 additional days of sick leave. The extended FCCRA, the 12 weeks, is at 2/3 pay. So that all expired on December 31st with the first CARES Act. Congress did not extend it, but they made it optional for employers to extend it through March 31st. So this is really at the discretion of the governing board if they want to extend the date on this leave. This does not grant any new leave to anyone. So if I've already used my 80 hours, I don't get any more. I've already used the 80 hours. If I already used the 12 weeks of FCCRA, I don't get any more. I've already used it. What you would be doing here, if the board chooses to, is just taking that December 31st date and pushing it out to March 31st. That is at district expense, but basically all of this leave has been at district expense. So, I mean, there's really no additional cost or issue to the district for doing this. My recommendation to the board would be to motion to approve to extend the leave until March 31st, just because we still have, even though the vaccine is on the way, it's going to take a while for everyone to get vaccinated. And we currently have 2 staff members, I believe, who have tested positive for COVID outside of, it was over break outside of a school setting, but that have tested. We have a couple others that are on, waiting for results and on quarantine. So if the board extends this, then we can grant that leave to them.
To approve the extension, to extend the deadline for employees to utilize remaining leave balances under the Families First 437156.1, the Corona Recovery Act FFCRA through March 1st, 2021.
Motion by Ms. Ramona Norwood. Any second?
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Miranda. All in favor?
Madam Chair, you gotta ask if there's any discussion.
Okay.
I had a question, Chris.
Yes.
I know under the FMLA, like you mentioned, it's up to 12 weeks. And under FMLA, once you've used it, you can't use the 12, if you're granted the 12 weeks, you can't use it for a year.
Correct.
So since this is similar, is this like, does this fall under FMLA? And if so, once the employee uses it, let's say now to March, and let's just say after March, maybe in May, something happens and the employee needs to go under regular FMLA, since they've already used the 12 weeks and it hasn't been a year, are they still entitled to another 12 weeks under FMLA?
This is enhanced FMLA, but they're only allowed to do it once. One time is how I'm understanding it. We can reach out to our legal counsel and verify that, but my understanding of it is you can only use it one time.
Yeah. Okay, and does it run concurrent? Because I know, like, if an employee, a female employee is pregnant and she would like to go under FMLA, and if the district offers maternity leave, what I've seen is some employees abuse it. They take the maternity leave. After they've used up maternity leave, then they request FMLA leave. But by law, you can have both of them running concurrent. So I guess my question is, if the employee extends or their leave exceeds the 12 weeks, this should run concurrent with FMLA. So they should be applying for both. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, Pinon Unified doesn't, I understand in your example, Pinon Unified doesn't offer maternity leave. So anybody, I mean, they would just apply directly for FMLA.
Yeah, well, I guess, sorry to interrupt you, Chris. I was just using that as an example. So my question then would be, would this run concurrent with FMLA, just like it would have, should Pinon be offering maternity leave, then it would have run concurrent with that leave as well.
Yes. So if they're doing the FCCRA, which is the enhanced FMLA, basically, or expanded FMLA, that's their 12 weeks. If they've used their 12 weeks, then there is no more. Now, in our policy, there is a provision where they could, after the 12 weeks, they could actually request a leave of absence from the board, but that's not paid. It would be an unpaid leave of absence. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, well, I just want to get it clear that, so if they're going to request the extension of this FCC leave and then the FMLA leave, so if they're under the FCC leave, they use up the 12 weeks, they can't request FMLA to request another 12 weeks, right?
Correct. That's how we are interpreting it. But I will, since you've asked the question, I will double check with our attorney and I can get back to you on that. But that is how we're interpreting it, yes.
Okay. And then also I'd like to know if that would also imply that they're under FMLA. So therefore, in the future, they're not entitled to any other FMLA leave because, like I said, FMLA, they can't use it until a year later.
Correct.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Okay, board members, any other questions?
No question.
Okay, since there's no question, there was a motion and a second. All who are in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 4 in favor, 0 opposing, 0 abstaining. Okay, let's go on to the next item under new business. 6.2,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I'd like to make a consent motion if at all possible, please. My consent motion is to approve under new business 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4.
Okay, a motion is made to combine 6.2, 6.3, 6.4. Any second?
I'll second this.
Okay, second by Ramona. Is there any question?
No question.
I have no questions.
Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
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 4 in favor, 0 opposing, 0 abstaining.
Madam President, members of the board, just again, a quick explanation on number 7, executive session. This is where the board would decide, do you need to go into executive session for either item 8.1 or 8.2? If a board member, the board voted, or if the board wanted to go into executive session for 8.1 or 8.2, then they would motion that at this time and we would adjourn into executive session. We do, Joyce, we have the executive session notices about, okay. Generally, my recommendation is to just stay in open session unless there's something confidential that you want to discuss on 8.1 or 8.2, but that's at the discretion of the board, so.
Board members, how do you want to take this item?
I have no reason to go into executive session.
Okay. Mark is saying, board member Little is saying that he has no reason to go into executive session, so it's really, there's no action needed here if there's no intent to go into executive session. We'll just move on to 8.1.
Just move on.
Okay, board members, no executive session here, so we'll just go ahead and move into item 8, personnel. 8.1, superintendent.
Madam President.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Again, I'd like to make a consent motion under personnel. My consent motion is to approve item 8.1, the hiring of the middle school counselor for school year 2020 and 2021, and 8.2 to approve the resignation of Miss Jennifer Bonnet. That's my consent motion.
The motion is made and second by Miranda to combine 8.1 and 8.2. Superintendent.
If no question or discussion, there's a motion and a second, you can vote on those items together.
Questions on board members? Okay, let's go ahead and vote on it. I'll say aye.
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 I vote yes.
Okay, 4 in favor, 0 opposing, 0 abstaining.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay, there's an item 9, closing item, adjournment. Ms. Ramona Norwood, motion to adjourn.
I'll go ahead and second that.
I'll,
Miranda, second. And all say aye. Aye. Favor? Aye.
Aye.
I vote yes.
4 in favor, 0 opposing, 0 abstaining. Adjourned at what time? 6:31, adjourned. Yay.
Thank you, board members. Welcome to our new board members. Happy New Year.
Good training, on-the-job training.
Yes.
Oh, Chris, I just wanted to, could you include me in this vaccine? I've been
Oh,
trying
Chris,
around and everybody's giving me the runaround.
Yeah. Yes, Mark?
Chris. Sorry to interrupt you guys. Can you also include me too into the for the vaccination, please?
I can